Someday your income will be zero. It's hard to believe. We're working 30, 40 years. I'm Chris McMahon. I'm a financial expert. I'm going to talk about how we take care of when we stop working. 30, 40 years we work, we save, we accumulate. People are used to that. That's a normal plan. Maybe we save in our retirement plan. But we get to the end and say, now what is my plan? I no longer have a strategy. It can be very dissettling. We're going to talk about ways to replace that income, create streams of income to really maximize our retirement and live our best financial life. What are the kind of 5 or 6 great ways to maximize income streams in retirement? One, first of all, is Social Security. You have to look at Social Security first. The mistake people make is they forget how long they're going to live in retirement. They make the decision to take early Social Security based on the fact they want those dollars immediately. Longevity is a huge issue. People are now living longer in retirement by decades than they worked. It's just hard to believe. In 1950, people lived about 8 years when they retired. About 8 years after they retired, then they'd pass away. Today, it's closer to 30 years in retirement. If somebody makes it to age 65, their average life expectancy is somewhere around age 87. That means they can have 30 years and retired at least. And sometimes if they make it to age 80, they can live well into their 90s. 1 in 3 people that's 80 years old will live beyond age 95. We need to make good decisions, particularly around Social Security. And what we have to think about there is this. If we take early Social Security, we're dramatically discounting the amount of money we're going to receive. Social Security benefits increase much faster than any other investments, many other investments we can have in retirement. Most people, when they're retired, their assets are growing at about 5% because they're invested conservatively. For every year you wait to receive Social Security benefits, you get an 8% increase in that benefit. What an incredible compounding that is. To the degree we can wait and defer to take those benefits as late as possible, it's extremely important. So for one of the 2 spouses, for sure, normally what we're going to tell you is for the lower earning spouse can take their Social Security, if at all possible, at normal retirement, and for the higher wage earner with the higher benefits, we want to defer that up to 2 years beyond normal retirement. Next, I think we have to think about income producing investments. What I mean by that is dividend paying stocks. Things we normally don't talk about. Earlier in our life, we're thinking about growth stocks, and we think about technology stocks and many, many stocks that are out there. As we get close to retirement, we want to think really about 2 things. We want to think about dividend paying stocks. Think about Walmart, think about Pepsi, think about Coke. These companies that have been out there a long time. These dividends can give us predictable retirement assets over long, long periods of time. So as we get into retirement, we're going to start thinking to ourselves, how do we transition our retirement accounts, our savings plans, our securities into dividend paying stocks, which is very important. Another thing that goes right along with dividend paying stocks is making sure we have enough bonds. Because remember, there's a great deal of volatility in the stock market, and even dividend paying stocks can be volatile. So we want to have bonds associated with them. You hear the term bond ladder quite a bit. And those are really, we build a bond ladder, and there's some great tools on the internet that can help us build those bond ladders using AI. Fundamentally, we have things maturing at different dates, some 3 months, some 6 months, some 9 months, etc. And by laddering those bonds, what we can do is have those income streams coming in periodically and really smooth out those bumps in our retirement plan. So it really allows us to really become very, very predictable. And that's really important in retirement. We want predictability and stability in our plan. Next, we have to look at the real estate. Where are we living today? This is a very important part of our retirement plan. If in fact we're in that house of our dreams, that house can ultimately become the house of our nightmares as our drags our retirement down. Consider very seriously taking that big dream house and turning it into a multi-residence home. You see this all the time. That asset that was draining us, that had enormous potential costs, because every 20 years that roof has to be replaced, right? And somewhere where we're in that cycle, those bathrooms need to be updated. There's many, many expenses. Analyzing that critical time to say, when can I take that primary residence and turn it into an income producing investment simply by taking that cash flow, which generally that property is paid for, or you have a very low mortgage, take that amount of equity, put it into a duplex or a triplex, rent those other 2 units out, and what ends up happening is we see income coming in. We also see people moving to vacation areas, which is fascinating. They'll move to a vacation area, they'll buy a home that has a primary residence, and they'll oftentimes what they'll do is during those peak rental seasons, they'll move into the outbuilding, which is fun. Or they might visit the grandkids or the children at that time and leave it in a purely rental mode. But the idea of generating income is extraordinarily important. We've seen people replace $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of annual income to this income stream. So that real estate is a really, really important potential income stream of something you already own. It's taking an asset that is extraordinarily inefficient and all of a sudden making an income producing investment. Really smart decision. You have to start thinking about what skills we have. Some folks say, I don't have any skills. That's normally never the case. Whatever your expertise was, there is triple the amount of consultants being hired today than 15 years ago. Think about that, triple the amount of consultants. There's opportunities for people that are in retirement to do what they did well. Now it's a consulting basis. So oftentimes with the company they simply retired from. Sometimes it's from a competitor. There's all kinds of different ways that we can go back to work as an independent consultant. When we start taking income streams in that way, what ends up happening is we reduce the amount we're drawing on our other assets, we're building a larger legacy for the future, and we're really minimizing what's happening. Think of it in three ways. Think about doing some consulting. Think about potentially teaching. The world of adjunct professors is getting bigger and bigger every day, and many of these universities don't require advanced degrees for people to be adjunct professors. Every university you look at, you'll see people that are coming in and sharing their life experience and actually making good money from doing that. In retirement, you cannot forget about the opportunity to harvest tax gains. This is something people forget about all the time because during their earning lifetime, they realize that every time you have a tax gain, we want to avoid the tax man as much as possible. So we have a tendency to defer taxes on everything that we're accumulating. We'll hold assets longer than we should. We'll hold investments longer than we should on the basis that we don't want to pay capital gains, either long-term or short-term capital gains rates. But it's important to remember during retirement, if our income as a married couple is below a threshold, we pay no capital gains tax on that money. So if we have an income of a married couple of $100,000 or below, we won't pay capital gains tax on that distribution. So some of those stocks we've held forever in our portfolio for that rainy day, in retirement, it's a good time for an income stream to say, why don't I analyze this, take a look at what securities I can sell, and oftentimes I'm selling with no tax, which is an unbelievable benefit and another great way to create some income for retirement. One of the most important things that people look all the time is the new sharing economy. People just aren't used to it, particularly as they reach retirement. When am I not using my car? When am I not using tools in my home? When am I not using my home itself? When am I not using this property? When am I not using clothing? Clothing can now be used this way. We had worked with a client, it was unbelievable. They generated $40,000 of income into their household by saying, I'm going to get on all these different services and utilize this shared economy, we call it. It's a new word. We've got to get used to it because we have a tendency to say, this is mine. The reality is these things go unused. Oftentimes a car, a house, clothing, tools, which is a big one as well. They're returned. They're not damaged. There's insurance in the case they're damaged, and people can replace enormous amounts of their income. So I think by using these various techniques, those streams of income coming in the household can be absolute game changers. All of a sudden that retirement, we're not going into those retirement pools nearly as quickly. Instead of going into them 1 year after retirement, we might be able to defer 4, 5, 6 years of retirement. And remember, every year that you defer taking money or taking less money out of a retirement plan adds 4 years on the back end of life expectancy. So that's either 4 years longer we can live that great lifestyle, or frankly, pass that legacy on to the next generation. Okay, that seems like a lot. 6 different techniques. But the reality is, if we take them one at a time, we take them slow, we learn a little bit along the way, we're going to be fine. If you're within 10 years of retirement, you have plenty of time to do this. Let's move together. Remember, it's all about de-stressing. If you don't have these income streams, it could be a very stressful 20, 30, 40 years. But with doing this simple planning, adding this to our arsenal, we can have a smooth and stress-free retirement. That's really what we're after. I'm Chris McMahon. I'm a financial expert. If you like what you see, please click below.